It's fair to say that overall, the majority of hi-fi and even home theater components aren't exactly inspiring. And I'm not just harping on, boring black boxes. I'm talking about the experience as a whole, from unboxing and setup to day-to-day interaction and even the pride of ownership. It's all kind of a bit same. When I was a kid, the pages of Stereophile or Absolute Sound were where I drew much of my inspiration. But now I find myself more drawn to architecture, coachwork, watches, heck, even fashion and perfume for inspiration, and my design fix more than hi-fi. That is until the Astra from Devialet showed up. I've lost count of how many integrated amplifiers we've reviewed on this channel, but I can tell you without a moment's hesitation that the Astra will not fade from memory anytime soon. The French-manufactured Astra is as much a hi-fi statement as it is a design one, which should surprise no one coming from Devialet, a brand known for their creatively designed and, I'm told, bass-defying Bluetooth speakers, the Phantoms. From the elegant unboxing of the Astra through to the user experience, this amp has more in common with a Bugatti than it does with most hi-fi products. The Astra is a hybrid stereo-integrated amplifier which, according to Devialet, maintains the refinement and linearity of analog Class A and combines it with the power of Class D, producing 150 watts into 8 ohms and 300 watts into 4 with incredibly low distortion. Now, Devialet isn't the first to combine similar classes of amplification. Other manufacturers like TECHNICS and HIFI Rose also come to mind, having made similar claims. As for input-output options, the Astra features both analog and digital connectivity. There are 2 analog audio inputs which can be configured in a myriad of ways, including being turned into a moving magnet or moving coil phono preamp with full EQ and cartridge customization, which I'm going to get to in just a second. When it comes to physical digital connections, you get 2 coaxial and 2 optical audio inputs, as well as a USB and Ethernet port. Similar to the amplifier's analog inputs, you can also reconfigure its coaxial connections to become additional line outs for use with a subwoofer or separate amplifier, all of which you can do from inside the app or by using your laptop and the advanced configurator. The Astra also has wireless support for the usual suspects, and this includes Wi-Fi, UPnP, AirPlay, Bluetooth, Google Cast, Spotify, and Tidal Connect, as well as being Roon ready. Because of its Class D nature, the Astra is not a large or heavy piece of kit, despite its full-width chassis being made from a solid block of aluminum. It is very thin, measuring just over an inch or 2.5 centimeters tall. It weighs about 16 pounds, making it very easy to unbox and position on our marble platform for this review. Now, to some, you may not even realize it's an amplifier, and you gotta know, I really appreciate that. The amp's input and speaker terminals are recessed, which makes for a very clean and minimal look after you've gotten all of your associated equipment and speakers connected, but you may find making those initial connections just a little bit frustrating, as there isn't a lot of room around back, especially if you have thick audiophile cables. For this review, I connected our Alva TTV2, obviously defeating the turntable's built-in phono preamp in favor of the phono preamp inside the amp. Now, the Alva uses a high-output moving coil cartridge. Inside the app, you can adjust the Astra's phono preamp to your turntable. I was able to adjust the Astra's phono preamp to match the Alva's exact cartridge specification, which made a huge difference in the combination's dynamic range and overall output volume capability, dramatically improving the vinyl playback experience. I also tested the Astra with our Eversolo A8 DAC streamer in order to compare and contrast its built-in DAC and streaming capability to that of the Eversolo. Now, I had hoped to connect our TCL QM7K and Apple TV to the Astra. However, it lacks an HDMI input, which is a major oversight at this price point. Now, my workaround was to rely on AirPlay through our Apple TV, which worked flawlessly. However, those who prefer a physical connection between their TV and the Astra, you're gonna have to rely on an optical or analog connection. I tested the Astra on 3 different pairs of speakers: our Klipsch Cornwall 4s, Sonus Faber Lumina 2s, and the new Wilson Audio Watt Puppy. One of DVLA's selling points is that the Astra has the ability to match the output specifications of any connected passive speaker by minimizing the subtle delays that can occur between the drivers within a speaker as, the drivers respond to the complexity of a musical signal. DVLA refers to this as speaker active matching, or SAM. Now, SAM isn't a process that happens automatically. In reality, DVLA has a database of speakers that they have measured using a 60+ point laser system, which creates a profile for each speaker that can then be selected and applied to the Astra, provided DVLA has had the opportunity to measure that speaker. Surprisingly, our Cornwall 4s were not in DVLA's database. I was less surprised to see the brand new Wilson Watt Puppy missing. However, a profile was available for the Lumina 2s. So, how much of an impact did SAM have on our Luminas? I wouldn't say it made a night and day difference in the sound quality. Is there a difference? Yes, but it is subtle and it's most noticeable in the bass. It gave the Luminas a sensation of slightly deeper bass, though the sensation was not measurable in my testing. But measurements be damned, the Luminas with SAM engaged sounded deeper. When it comes to the user experience, I really enjoyed the Astra's refined presence. Whether you prefer to use its web-based configuration methods, the app, or the physical remote, interacting with the Astra is a treat. In a world where remotes are often overlooked, even with expensive products, I appreciate that DVLA did not scour their parts bin for their remote. The portable and wireless rotary dial is cool AF. It's got a nice weight to it and it highlights the exceptional build quality of the Astra. That said, the remote does come with a slight learning curve. Nearly all of the touch-sensitive buttons serve multiple functions. But still, initial hiccups aside, listening to music and adjusting the volume using the weighted dial, it brings about a sense of drama and occasion that you won't find with most remotes. And I know that to diehard audiophiles, a product's appearance or remote should play no role in its sonic experience, but I'm going to argue that it does. You see, the Astra is so elegant and minimal that it actually leaves you with no other choice but to just listen to it. It was so unobtrusive and easy to use that I didn't feel some of the burden that often comes with being a reviewer, being overwhelmed by gear all of the time. It's one of the few pieces that in our personal time saw as much playtime as our Bang & Olufsen products. The Astra is one of the finest Class D amplifiers that I have ever heard, and when paired with the Watt Puppy speakers, it ranks among my all-time favorites. While I've been fortunate enough to have had the opportunity to listen to some truly phenomenal amplifiers, few have excited me and made me want to listen as much as the Astra. For starters, the Astra proved dead silent when connected to the more sensitive Cornwall 4s, producing zero hiss from the tweeters and horn-style mid-range drivers, which is rare for the Cornwalls even when connected to ultra-high-end amplifiers. It also exhibited expert control over the large 15-inch woofer, providing for levels of articulation and control very few amps have been able to achieve without some, added finessing or DSP work from yours truly. But to really experience the Astra's bass capabilities, one needn't look any further than the Watt Puppy. My God. The Wilson's dual 8-inch drivers and granite-like cabinet construction provided for some of the deepest, most detailed and agile low end I have experienced in my room from a passive loudspeaker. While the Watt Puppies may be rated to 26 Hz in room, plus or minus, they pressurized our space in ways few speakers or subs have managed, and their varying impedance was of little concern to the Astra. The kick drum that comes in during the bridge of the noose or the bass lines throughout all of Welcome to Arrakis were visceral in their snap and had just that concussive presence. While Class D may have a reputation for speed, in my experience, it doesn't always carry with it the full weight, body, and control over a speaker's woofers that I've come to expect from really well-crafted Class A or AB style amplifiers. Well, not anymore. The Astra delivers near active or DSP controlled levels of bass prowess and control from the moment you press play. As for the mid-range and treble, the Astra is neutral but not lifeless or sterile the way a lot of Class D amps are. Unlike the arguably perfect Class D Marantz Model 10, the Astra has a hint of, dare I say, character. It's incredibly clear and precise, but instruments like grand pianos and or violins, they retain their bloom, their body, and inherent character, like the audible differences in certain materials and construction between, say, a Steinway and a Bosendorfer, something I noticed while listening to both Tori Amos and Diana Krall. Speaking of pianos, the Yamaha John Batiste plays throughout the album Beethoven Blues was rendered in the most three-dimensional and lifelike way I've heard yet, a testament to the Astra's clarity and control from the bass on up through to the mid-range. And it was much the same story with respect to the Astra's rendering of high frequencies. Many Class D amps seem harsh to me, with even inexpensive options becoming fatiguing due to either a spike in the amp's response as it nears subsonic frequencies or just distortion taking over when playing back music rather than test frequencies. This is not the case with the Astra. The Astra's top end is tube-like in its ability to sound silky smooth, only with the finesse and just outright speed, not to mention dynamic pop, that one can achieve from a refined solid-state Class A or Class D amplifier. Speaking of dynamics, this is my second favorite aspect of this amp's sound next to its bass chops, which I find so intoxicating. When paired with a speaker of the Watt Puppy's caliber, it is possible to achieve active loudspeaker-like starts and stops when listening to any genre of music. I cannot get over its effortless nature and just sense of control the Astra had when driving any of our test speakers. And then there's the Astra's separation and delineation of instruments and performers throughout the soundstage. If your speakers are capable of a truly three-dimensional soundstage, the Devialet will not rob them of any of their width or depth. If anything, due to the amp's control and coherence, it's possible you may experience appreciable gains in the soundstage department. In our room, and when paired with the room-defying Wilsons, the Astra-Wilson combo is second only to the costlier Beolab 90 or 50s when it comes to the recreation of a truly holographic "you are there" soundstage. But sonic specifics aside, I have to stress, whether listening to an analog source, such as a turntable, or a digital one, or even streaming, the Astra's sound is consistent and reflective of what I've just described. Another reason why the act of starting and ending my day with it was just so satisfying, because I haven't really encountered a situation, genre of music, or hell, volume, where the Astra has not excelled. As impressed as I am, there are three notes that I made during my evaluation that I believe Devialet needs to address in order for the Astra to be perfect. My first issue, sadly, cannot be addressed in a firmware update, and that's the amp's lack of an HDMI connection. At $20,000, I cannot think of an acceptable reason why HDMI was not included in a modern product like the Astra. Now, as for my other two concerns, I'm hopeful that these could be addressed in a firmware update, specifically the addition of support for additional streaming platforms like Amazon or Apple Music, and higher level adjustability in the form of room EQ or parametric EQ. Now, I get it that not everyone or every audiophile wants DSP or fancy EQs in their products, but again, at this premium price point, a brand has a responsibility to overcome any potential objections, and to those who want greater levels of adjustability and control, going beyond basic tone and balance is a must. Now, I will say, these misses did not keep me from falling in love with this product, but at $20K, forgive me for wanting to have my cake and eat it too. So what about other Class D amps? Well, the amp that I kept thinking about during this review was Technics' flagship integrated, the R1000. The R1000 is amazing. Like the Astra, it is beautifully made. Now, the Technics will set you back a cool 10 grand, but compared to $20K for the Devialet, the Technics is practically a bargain. The R1000 doesn't have built-in streaming or HDMI, which makes the Astra's lack of HDMI kind of a wash here, but the R1000 does have an excellent phono preamp and was a reference point until I heard the Astra. If you're a big vinyl fan, both amps should definitely be on your must audition list. Sound-wise, both are great examples of Class D done right. However, the Astra does a better job of controlling and extracting bass from difficult-to-drive speakers. Aside from that, I think both products are likely to appeal to those chasing that last 1 or 2% of performance from their system, though if I had to pick one, I'm going with the Astra. Compared to the HIFI Rose's RA180 integrated, again, I'm siding with the Astra. Nothing against the Rose. It's a cool piece, and at $7,000, it's even more of a bargain than the TECHNICS, but it does require you to invest in a separate DAC as well as a streamer if you want to match the capabilities of the Astra out of the box. For me, that results in a lot of unwanted clutter. Never mind, it could end up costing you more than the Astra, depending on what DAC and streamer you choose. Now, if you're considering the less expensive RA280, this one's actually a little tougher because the 280 offers up a lot of the same performance as the Astra, but it does lack modern connectivity. Still, it's far more likely that you can build a top-tier setup around the 280 and a quality high-end DAC streamer and come out ahead financially compared to the Astra. So this may be something to consider, though I continue to prefer the just streamlined look and feel of the Devialet compared to the Rose. But the real conundrum for audiophiles may be whether or not to buy the Astra or pick up Devialet's other amplifier, the Expert Pro. While the Pro may not be shown on Devialet's website at the moment, it's still very much for sale and listed at roughly half the price, while possessing, well, many of the same technologies and specs as the Astra. I haven't heard the Expert Pro amplifier recently, so I can't comment on their sound. However, given that they both come from Devialet and possess many of the same features as well as comparable power output, it is entirely possible that you could have an Astra-like experience for less with the Pro. At the end of the day, products like the Astra take the hi-fi experience to new levels. However, unlike many of its competitors, the Devialet experience, it just doesn't begin and end with its sound quality. It is the complete package, and I absolutely love it. So that's it. That is now my take on Devialet's brand new Astra integrated amplifier. What did you guys think? Sound off in the comments below. And if you have any questions, or maybe I missed a comparison, you know what to do. Leave it down in the comments. You never know, we could address it in a future video. Until then, remember, the only person who has to like the sound of your system is you. So happy listening, everybody. Thank you so very much for watching. Have a great rest of your day, and we will see you on the next video. Bye.